Díos mar gaib agus fáilte go féile na saona, is mi sé Brian the Hearts. Hello folks, welcome to the Samhain Festival. I'm Brian the Hearts and I'm a local teacher here in Portland, Oregon, teaching Irish at Portland Community College and for an organization based in DC and Galway called Let's Learn Irish. You can find information on those classes through pcc.edu and letslearnirish.org. I teach both Irish language lessons and singing in the Irish language. So those are some great classes that are coming up for Let's Learn Irish in the next few weeks. And I've just finished my third week in the fall term at PCC. So for more information, look up those links there and put your name in to get up-to-date information on when the next classes start. So today I've been asked to give you a learner's level Irish Gaelic lesson. And this is for those people who've been experienced with the language a little bit, but who are in no way maybe conversant or fluent and like to just dust off some skills and add some new vocabulary and sentence forms to what Irish you have. To do this, I've created a one-page document to help highlight a really natural conversation, and then created some notes to discuss some of the features of the language. And there are no translations in English, so do keep an open mind and listening, connecting words and meanings, just to keep you on your learning edge rather than just passive learning. So I'm going to share this document with you and we can get started. Just take things as they come, enjoy yourself, and hopefully you'll walk away with this with some more Irish. Okay, here is our lesson. So if you'll notice this central box here, this is our main dialogue. On the left-hand side, in bolden letters, that is dialogue from speaker 1. And this in the italics here, oops, I can't, can I highlight that? I can and can't, unfortunately. This section here that's in italics, that is speaker number 2. We'll work through this conversation. I'll help you guys through altering some of the question forms so that they apply to you. And then down here at the bottom, we'll discuss some of the features of the language. So I'm going to start first by reading this dialogue to you, and I want you to just keep your ears open and your eyes open to following the words, see if you can't pick up meaning and context from both what you hear and what you read. Cechawil tu a chara, tá me go ma gur magat. Nach bhfuil an amsir go jes? Níl. Tá sé fluch amachchas amach. Well, tá fór ann nach bhfuil. Tá sé ann is dócha agus fearlim lá tirim. Is málim lá tirim na lá fluch freisin. Go dain, ní hé lá na báistí. An wacha tú na dialóga ag ahrú, chonig, bhí mé sa ghail agus bhí sé go hálinn. Húps, Caithe mé imimecht, ba dheas cáint letsa, slán beo. All right. Let's look at our first two sentences here. Ceachraí a bhfuil tú. Ceachraí bhfuil tú. Oh, I'm missing a shinya over the U there. There should be a dash over that U. My editing eyes did not catch that one. So, ceachraí a bhfuil tú. How are you? You might have heard this, a different phrase used, conas tátu or codémar tátu. Today we're using ceachraí a bhfuil tú. This comes from the dialect of Irish that I learned in Western County Galway. So ceachraí a bhfuil tú. And then cara is a friend, but a cara, this is the vocative case. I'm calling you by your name. Well, I'm not calling you by your name. I'm addressing you by calling you a friend. So I'm using what's known as the vocative case. So cara, which means friend, becomes a chara. Cara, a chara. So ceachraí bhfuil tú a chara. Tá mé go maith gur magat, right? Tá mé go maith, meaning I am well, using the present tense verb be. So tá mé, first person, point to yourself. Go maith, thumbs up. Tá mé go maith, I am good. Gur magat. Gur magat meaning thank you. Gur magat. It's a phrase you could learn off, utilize in many places after any sort of sentence or question. Guramagat. 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 Tá me guma guramagat. Next question is nach bhfuil an amsir go deas. Nach bhfuil an amsir go deas. Isn't the weather good deas? Isn't it nice? An amsir is the weather. An amsir is also used in certain circumstances to denote time. So past tense is an amsir seo caite. This time passed, right? The past tense, an amsir caite. Amsir caite. So amsir can also mean time or passing of time. But in this case, we're talking about the weather. Nach bhfuil an amsir go deas. Speaker number 2 does not think so. He says, Níl. Tá sé fliuch. No, tá sé fliuch. It's wet. Fliuch. Amach is amach. Out and out. To mean totally. Níl. Tá sé fliuch. Amach is amach. Speaker 1 says, well, tá an fómhair ann nach bhfuil. Well, an fómhair, autumn, right? The autumn is here. Ann nach bhfuil, isn't it? Tá an fómhair ann nach bhfuil. Tá sé ann is dócha. It is, I suppose. Ach, but is fearlum lá tidum. Law is day, right? Is fearlum, I prefer. Lá tidum, a dry day. Well, speaker number 1 agrees. Is málam lá tidum ná, no, neither or as opposed to lá fliuch, freshen. So is málam lá tidum ná lá fliuch, freshen. I prefer a dry day to a wet one as well. Freshen. Speaker number 2 wholeheartedly agrees. Godain. Godain. You can also pronounce this Godevin. Connemara we say Godain. Ní hé lá na báistí, lá na páistí. Ní hé lá na báistí, lá na páistí. Sorry. Ní hé lá na báistí, na. Let's try this again. Ní hé lá na báistí, lá na páistí. You'll see that looks like it's repeated twice, but in fact the words are different. Báistí, rain. Páistí, eclipsed, is children. So ní hé lá na báistí, the day of rain, is not lá na báistí, the day for children. More on that proverb below. An bhaca tú na duilleoga ag ahrú. Very pertinent question this time of year. An bhaca tú, did you see na duilleoga, the leaves, ag ahrú, changing? An bhaca tú na duilleoga ag ahrú. Did you see or have you seen the leaves changing? Chonig, right? Chonig. I saw, right? That's a yes. Bhí mé sa gail agus bhí sé go hálan. I was in sa gail, in the woods. Cail or quill is forest. Agus bhí sé go hálan. And it was, past tense, tá, past tense is bhí. Bhí sé, it was go hálan. Beautiful. Bhí sé go hálan. Speaker number 1 looks at his watch and remembers he has an appointment to keep, so he says, Caithfidh mé gimocht, but yes, can't let. Caithfidh mé, I have to. Imocht, go. Caithfidh mé imocht. But yes, can't let. It was nice. Can't, speaking, let, with you. Was nice, but yes. Good yes, nice, as an adjective. But yes, was nice. It was nice. Can't let, speaking with you. And speaker number 2, she thinks so as well. She says, but yes, can't letsa. Right? Let is with you. Letsa is more emphasis. Letsa. Slán bio. She says, goodbye. Slán. Slán bio. Let's go back through this conversation now, and I want you to read the part of speaker number 2 in italics here. So I'm going to give you some time to respond to my question on the left, and then I'll repeat what you should read so that you get a chance to improve your pronunciation. So here you go. Ceach bhfuil tú a chara? Tá mé go maith gur amagad. Nach bhfuil an aimsir go deas. Níl, tá sé fliuch amach is amach. Well, tá an fómhair ann, nach bhfuil? Tá sé ann is dócha ach is fearr liom lá tirim. Is málam lá tirim ná lá fliuch freisin. Go dain, ní hé lá na báistí, lá na báistí. An wachad tú na duilleog I gcathrú. Chonaic, bhí mé sa ghail agus bhí sé go hálainn. Húps, caithfidh mé imeacht ba dheas cáint leat. Ba dheas cáint leatsa, slán beag. All right, so there's our conversation. Ceach bhfuil tú a chara? Ceach bhfuil tú? How are you? We can easily replace tú with a proper noun or name like Bidín. Ceach bhfuil Bidín? How is Bidín? Ceach bhfuil Sheila? How is Sheila? Don't forget our pronouns. Mé, first person. Tú, second person. Sé, third person masculine. She, third person feminine. Ceach bhfuil tú? Ceach bhfuil sé? Ceach bhfuil she? Right? Nach bhfuil an aimsir go deas. Speaker number 2 doesn't think so, right? So níl, tá sé fliuch amach samach. Can you recall any words that you might replace fliuch with? Tá sé fuair, to mean cold. Tá sé fuair amach samach. Tá sé gríomhar, windy, amach samach. Tá sé te, it's hot. Tá sé te amach samach. Well, tá an fómhair ann, nach bhfuil. An fómhair is autumn or the harvest, right? We have 2 months in the calendar year that are based off the word an fómhair. We have meán fómhair to mean September and deireadh fómhair to mean October. Meán fómhair means the middle of the harvest and deireadh fómhair the end of the harvest. What's the beginning of the harvest? Do you recall? It's another cross-quarter holiday similar to Samhain called Lúnasa. Lúnasa is the beginning of August and it marks the beginning of the harvest in Ireland. So meán fómhair, September. Deireadh fómhair, October. As is mentioned in the title of the festival this year, Samhain is a Celtic New Year. So if we're at the deireadh fómhair in October, November 1st, the day after Halloween, starts the winter, an Yivra. All right, so let's look at the 3 verbs that we're utilizing in this conversation. Over here in the bold letters, in capitals, in the backslashes, these are the roots of those verbs. The root is the smallest a verb can go. It's not conjugated, it's not in any tense. However, this form is used to order things around. It's called the imperative mood, right? So when you want to stress the importance of someone, you want to boss them around, you say something like, be des, be nice. Or fech an seo, look here. Fech an sin, look there, right? But we're going to conjugate each of these into a different tense to reflect what's going on in the conversation above. Be, conjugated into the present tense, is tá, níl, a will, and nach will. You can often hear a will pronounced of will and nach will na bhfuil in the Munster dialect. Now, you need to remember or take into consideration that Irish doesn't conjugate based on who's doing the verb. It doesn't conjugate based on the pronoun that follows it. Pronouns generally stand outside the verb. What does instigate conjugation is whether it's a positive statement, a negative statement, or a question. So the positive version of be in present tense is tá. Tá me go maith. I am well. The negative version is níl. Níl me go maith. I am not well. Níl me go maith. I am not well. A question form, ó bhfuil tú go maith? Are you well? Or a negative question form, which is really just trying to confirm information you might already know. Nach bhfuil tú go maith? Aren't you well? Our yes and our no, because Irish is a verb initial language, which means the verb comes first, followed by the subject, which is reverse from English, where the subject comes first, followed by the verb. So I ran to the store. In Irish, we would say, ran I to the store. Kind of sounds like Yoda speech, right? Because Irish is verb initial, we have no one word that means yes or no. So we have to utilize the positive form of the verb to make our yes statement, tá, and a negative form of the verb to create our no statement, níl. Forgive me, I'm not able to highlight that. Níl. Okay? Now let's look at is. Is is also a verb that means be. However, this is what we call the copular verb. It's a second form, and it has a very limited application. First, there's only two tenses that it utilizes: the present tense and the past tense, which also doubles for the imperative mood, right? It needs an adjective to follow it or a noun to follow it for it to mean anything. Whereas tá, as it stands alone, can mean is not, right? So we can use tá and níl as yes or no. Unfortunately, we can't use is or ní as a yes or no. It must follow an adjective with an adjective or a noun to mean anything. So if we look back up to the conversation, we use it here in the third line down, italicized. Is fearr liom lá tírim. I prefer, or it's best. To me, a dry day is the best day, right? Or I prefer a dry day. Is fearr liom, right? So fearr comes right after the copular verb is to mean I prefer or preference. The following emboldened line is má liom lá tírim. Ma is an adjective that means good. So is má liom, it's good with me, lá tírim. I like a dry day. So is limited in its application to discuss things, right? We use it to discuss who we are, what something is, and to create these idiomatic expressions like is fearr liom, is má liom. Right? So is má liom lá tírim. Ní má liom lá fliuch. On má leat lá tírim. Nach má leat lá fliuch. Our yes and our no statement would be is má or ní má. Is má, ní má. To mean in short, like, don't like. So be and is, we've both conjugated into present tense. However, feck is a different verb that means to look. Feck is to see. Feck, and in this case, we were looking at the yoga, the leaves, right? Ag ahru, changing. Feck is an irregular verb. And so when it's conjugated, especially into the past tense, it doesn't reflect this root. Be is also irregular. So you'll notice once we conjugate be, we no longer see be conjugated into the positive tense, right? Positive present tense. Ta doesn't look anything like be. The same thing happens to fek. Fek becomes chonik in the past tense, positive. And as we continue to look through both be and fek, you notice that the root is not reflected in any of the spellings of any of the words. This is what we call irregularity. And unfortunately, this happens to most of our most common verbs, both in English and Irish. If you can think of the English verb be, it's also irregular. I am, you are, he, she, it is, we are, you are, they are. So I am, you are, he, she, it is. Am, are, is the same verb, but it's changing its form. It's irregular. So in that way, be and fek are also irregular. So in the question, on wakatuna de yoga egaru, did you see the leaves changing? The response to say yes was chonik, saw, right? Chonik. And then speaker number 2 says, vi me sagail agus vi she gohalin. In this case, ta has been conjugated to the past tense. So vi is the past tense of ta. So vi me, I was sagail, in the woods. Agus vi she, it was gohalin, beautiful. Chonik me, right? If we want to make a statement with chonik me na dilyoga egaru. I saw na dilyoga, the leaves, egaru, changing. Niaka me na dilyoga egaru. I didn't see the dilyoga egaru. Onwakatu, did you see na dilyoga egaru, as it's presented here in the sentence? And then our negative statement, or negative question rather, nach wakatu na dilyoga egaru. Didn't you see na dilyoga egaru? Egaru is a verbal noun. It kind of translates into English as our ing, so running, drinking, washing, sleeping, eating. However, it's something that we're doing currently. It's the action of doing it, right? It's not what the gerund is, right? The act of such and such, but actually doing it. So ta na dilyoga egaru, the leaves are changing, right? Or maybe a good example is, I am eating, ta me eg iche. But I like eating, when we say I like eating, we're not eating, we're not doing the eg iche, we like the state of eating. That in the English language is a gerund for us. So in Irish, the distinction between how one's written to mean a verbal noun versus a gerund are different than in English. And in English, we make no distinction. They're written the same. I like eating, I am eating. But I came to the restaurant to eat. To eat is our infinitive, right? Irish, we have different forms for each of those. So in this case, eg ahru is changing. Ta na dilyoga eg ahru, the action, the ing, eg ahru. There are no other verbal nouns, I believe. Nope, there are no other verbal nouns present in this conversation. So there you go. We do have a whole host of adjectives that are being supplied here in this dialogue. Fluch, which is wet, right? Tidum, which is dry. Those are adjectives related to the description of weather, right? More general descriptions, qualitative descriptions, like good or nice or certainly or beautiful, take on a different form. They're preceded by the particle gu. So guma, good. Gudes, nice. Gudain, certainly. Gohalin, beautiful. One to be wary of, though, is guru, as in gurumagat. Up here in the first italicized sentence, gurumagat. This is not a verb. This is not an adjective, gormaget, but rather it's a form of the verb called the subjunctive mood. I believe that's what it's called, subjunctive mood. That you might have goodness, right? This roughly equates to our thank you, a well wish for somebody's good actions. So gormaget, that you might have goodness. So an idiomatic expression to mean thank you. So guru is not an adjective. All right. Last but not least, we had the introduction of a shan ukkel, right? Shan ukkel is a proverb. Nihe lal na bashti, lal na bashti. So while it sounds like I'm repeating lal na bashti twice, lal na bashti, if you look more closely, you'll realize lal na bashti, the first one is the day of rain. Lal na bashti is the day for children. So nihe, it's not lal na bashti, a wet day, lal na bashti, for the children. A wet day is not a day for children, right? I have that down here. But there's a similar proverb that we can also use in relation to bad weather. And it's nihe la na gihe, la na skalab. A windy day is not the day to thatch. And there you go. That's a proverb that you can take away and utilize day in and day out here in Portland, right? Nihe la na gihe, la na skalab. Or in Salem, we're in Salem as well. Here in Oregon in general, right? But these two, shan ukkel, are great because they really instill a sense of Irish and Gaelic culture in how we approach the weather, right? Nihe la na bashti, la na bashti. Nihe la na gihe, la na skalab. Well, there you are. Gormila Magi, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed yourselves and picked up a bit of Irish, dusted off some old rules that you're reminded of. And if you want any more information, as I mentioned, look me up on letslearnirish.com or pcc.edu, continuing education classes in Irish Gaelic. I teach them at the beginner level online. Enjoy the rest of your time at the festival and have a great Samhain. Be safe and maybe be together this time next year. Slán.